Good morning, students. Today we are going to read the third chapter of English 1, that is, What Lucy Finds in the Wardrobe. It is an extract from the novel The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, a fantasy novel set in an imaginary world. It is a fantasy novel and set in an imaginary world. It traces the adventure of 4 children who visited Narnia, a land of mythical creatures and talking animals. So the 4 main characters, the 4 main children, that is Peter, Susan, Edmund and Lucy, how they visited Narnia. It is a land of mythical creatures and talking animals. So let us begin this interesting story. Peter, Susan, Edmund and Lucy were 4 children who were sent away from London during the terrible war. So Peter, Susan, Edmund and Lucy, these 4 children, they were sent away from London during the terrible war. The terrible war, it is the Second World War, when there were a lot of bombings and air raids on London. So that place, London, is not at all safe, and these 4 children were evacuated from the place and taken to the safer zone. So there were air raids and bombings, and London was not at all safe for young children. They stayed with an old professor in a large rambling house in the countryside. So these 4 children were taken to a house in the countryside where they stayed with a professor. Okay, and this house was so large. It spread in different directions with no patterns. It was quite big house. The professor had unkempt grey hair. So the professor's hair were grey, and it was all messy, untidy hair, which not only covered his head but also most of his face. This is what had scared Lucy, the youngest of the 4. So when Lucy first met with the professor, she was very much scared, and she was the youngest of the 4 children. One evening after dinner, the 4 children were sitting and talking when they suddenly heard a loud sound. So one evening after the dinner, after all the 4 children had their dinner, they all sat together and they were talking when they suddenly heard some loud noise. "What is that noise?" exclaimed Lucy. Lucy asked, "What is that noise?" The house was much larger than any other house she had lived or visited before. So the house was a big one. She had never seen such house before or visited. The long corridors and empty rooms scared her. So whenever she sees the long corridor and the empty rooms, she had a feeling of fear. "Oh, Lucy, it is just a bird," teased Edmund. "No, it is a bat," said Peter. So her brothers Edmund and Peter, they just teased her because she was little scared, so they started teasing her.